Hearing my own voice echo in my ears, thank you very much. Okay, so are we ready to go now then? Cool. 3, 2, 1, go. So this is Crash Bandicoot 100%. The goal of this category is to collect a gem in each level. The way you collect a gem in the level is by breaking every box in the level. And you also have to not die. That's a very important point. If you die at all past a checkpoint in one of these levels, you have to re-enter the level and start over from the beginning, otherwise the game will not give you the gem. It makes this category pretty punishing overall. Yeah, so anyway, as for the movement in this game, Crash's control scheme is very, very simple. You can move with the D-pad, you can jump, and you can spin, and that's about it. But there's like several quirks to the physics. The biggest one, the most prevalent one, is zigzag. Whenever you are trying to go in a straight direction, like straight forward, instead of just holding the up direction, you actually want to be alternating between up left and up right. Like you alternate between the two diagonals, and that makes you go forward a lot faster. However, zigzag only works when you're in the air, not when you're on the ground. So that's why you'll see me jumping a lot constantly, even if I'm going over flat, solid ground that it doesn't seem like I need to jump on. You'll also see me spinning a lot when there seems to be no reason to. Spinning physically speeds you up in this game for some reason. Yeah. That aside, in this level, I'm about to be doing a skip of sorts. So there are a bunch of levels in this game that you're not supposed to be able to get the gem on the first pass through the level. See that little green thing floating in the air there? You're supposed to have to get the green gem from a different level way later in the game, but I was able to just bounce way up and get a bunch of boxes that were off the top of the screen there, using the Invincibilities power-up to help me break those boxes easily. There'll be a few levels like that where we try to do a skip of some sorts to be able to get all the boxes on the first pass when you're not supposed to be able to. I'll point them out as we get to them. Most of them are on Island 1. That one's actually really easy. It's a little awkward to learn at first since it's off-screen, but it's once you know what you're doing, once you know what it looks like up there, it's a very easy skip to do. In fact, the very next level after this is the Great Gate, is another one of these levels where we have a revisit skip. In this case, this level actually has 2 portals, and you're supposed to have to get the, I think the yellow gem, and yellow gem platforms appear that let you go over the first portal and access a, like, sort of secret part of the level. But instead we can do a cool damage abuse to get on top of the tall wall behind us and just physically walk across the gap and then drop down over into the secret area. You'll see that in a bit. It's coming up very shortly. Okay, I actually need to hurry a bit to get a decent cycle here.
Something to note is that you don't get invincibility at all times, it's just at specific points in the run. It's usually just when it would be useful to break crates, correct?
Yeah, so here we bounce high up on the turtle and damage abuse on the spike, and then we just walk across the wall in the background. And then you fall back down because climbing is difficult. Yeah, but so that skip, just like the Jungle Rollers one that I did first, is another one that's very easy to learn. Very easy to do once you have learned. It's not really a thing that gets failed ever, reasonably. The other 2 revisit skips that we'll be doing in this run later on are less easy to learn and do. But yeah, so that's this. We just go back here because there's actually a box hidden back there, along with it just being easier because there's no obstacles in your way. Okay, good. I made it past the flame. I do actually want to take a mask out of this level. I want to be taking a mask into the level called Upstream 2 levels from now, because it's another level where I need to get invincibility for the sake of a skip. But yeah, that's that. The next level is Boulders. Has very little of anything interesting to talk about. It's just a classic chase level. There's a boulder chasing you, Indiana Jones style.
It's a pretty good showcase of how much zigzagging increases Crash's movement, because this boulder, I believe, is supposed to move about as fast as Crash does, and the zigzagging, you're just completely leaving it behind.
Yeah, like these boulders will follow you extremely close behind if all you do is just walk in a straight line like you're expected to.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise if you've played Crash 2 or Crash 3 before this one, where the boulder or dinosaur chase levels in those games are pretty lenient, where you can maintain a safe distance. The boulders in these games, if you are just like a little slow, it can catch up to you really quickly, and it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, even running into a single obstacle in this level, or in the second boulder level, where it's a lot easier to run into obstacles, it can result in the boulder catching up to you if you aren't zigzagging.
I think they did slow the boulder down in the Japanese version of this game, which we should probably mention that you're running on.
Right, yes. So yeah, this is the Japanese version of the game, which you can probably tell by the fact that there are no English letters on the screen right now. The main reason for that is these colored gems that open up secret passages that we will talk about after this level, because there's a skip we have to talk about in this level. Yeah, so like I said, I entered with a mask. I wanted that, so now I have 2 masks, and I will be getting invincibility on the next mask crate that's in here. The invincibility's power up, we need to break a box that we can't really reach normally. It's a box that's floating underneath a bridge above the water, so if you just jump down and try to break it normally, you'd fall in the water and die. In order to break it, it's a combination of using the invincibility's power up, which just kind of breaks boxes that are nearby it, and also a thing called a submarine jump right here. It looks like that. You spin off a ledge, and then when the spin ends, you jump right after the spin ends, and you get a sort of mid-air jump. Here's the fun part of the skip. I was slightly too far up.
It's a very difficult skip.
I honestly thought I was in a good position there, but yeah. So what I was trying to do there, right? I have to line up on a very specific diagonal on that lily pad, and then you just hold up left, you jump at the wall, and you hit a sort of like seam or something in the collision, and Crash will get stuck on it, sort of, if you spin on it, and you're able to like just spin jump up the wall, where it looks like there should be no ledges or anything, and you just spin jump up the wall and you walk out of bounds, and then you access the secret area that way. It's an extremely inconsistent skip for us right now, because it is a very, very position-perfect thing, and the platform that you're standing on to line it up is a lily pad that sinks after you stand on it for a short amount of time. So you kind of have to... You don't have very much time to judge it. Like, you can pause... You can pause to give yourself a little more time to look at it, to try to decide if you're in the right position or if you need to adjust. But even if you're pausing a bit like that, you still don't have much time to adjust. I'm totally gonna die. No, I'm not. Okay. My movement was spaced differently than I normally do. Okay, I'm gonna... Nice ledge wall jump thing. Yeah, cool. Anyway, so these rolling stone things here are local cycles. They're spawn cycles, I guess is the term people like, right? So these start moving when you get close to them. So they're always going to be in the same position every time. Like, that's always going to line up the same. And that's always going to be way too hard for me to succeed at. But yeah, so these stones are perfectly predictable, as opposed to several other, I mean, like a lot of other things in this game, instead of being spawn cycles like that, are global cycles. They're running on a timer that starts when you turn on the game and continues running until it only resets when you die, basically. It doesn't run during pauses or loading screens, but otherwise it's just this timer that's constantly running that decides the position of stuff, and so that timer will let you carry cycles from one level to the next if you're able to know where you are on the global timer. It's some like high-level stuff to consider. But if you aren't at the level where you can predict cycles like that, it will basically appear random, because a lot of platforms or enemies or whatever will be in different positions each time you're in the level. It'll seem random. That's the way it's intended to be. It's programmed that way so that it does seem random to the typical player. The hog, you'll notice I'm not really talking about this hog as I'm playing it. There's nothing interesting to say about it. It is 100% on rails. Nothing you do speeds it up or slows it down. Aside from dying, that would slow it down.
It's not like the animal vehicle levels in Crash 2 and 3 where you have ways of speeding up. This is basically you can only move left and right.
Yeah, like if you watch Depp do the NST Crash 1 run yesterday, you'll have seen that the hog levels are actually worth caring about in there. There's a bit of interest to them, but here it's perfectly on rails. Nothing to it.
And here's where we're going to see the first major difference on the Japanese version is that he actually got the green gem way earlier than you would on any other version of the game. That's the biggest reason that the Japanese version saves time at 100%, is that the way they rearrange some of the colored gems means that you actually get the red gem in the Lost City instead of in Slippery Climb. And Road to Nowhere is a level where you need the red gem, and it occurs after the Lost City but before Slippery Climb. So on any other version of the game, you would have to visit Road to Nowhere twice. In the Japanese version, you only have to visit it once, and that's really the biggest time save, because the Japanese version actually loses time to the US version in other areas.
Nice. But yeah, there are some other differences between Japanese and US, like I was saying, besides the Road to Nowhere revisit. In this level, in this version, another level called the High Road is significantly shorter for some reason. They just like cut out the second half of the level. But then at the same time, the Papu Papu boss I did a bit ago and didn't talk about even slightly is longer in this version.
Yeah, it has 5 hit points as opposed to 3, which is actually a factor that they carried into the Insane
totally
Trilogy.
Not paying attention to cycles here. I probably should have been. But yeah, so you'll have seen me spin off spikes a few times. Spinning makes you invulnerable to certain types of things. Spikes are one of them.
Yeah.
And so you can do cool stuff like that.
Another big thing with the Japanese version is if you've seen an any percent run of this game, which is still run on the US version of the game, in most levels you'll usually see the runner hit a checkpoint at a certain point in the level and then immediately death abuse to skip the animation at the end that says, great, but you missed this many boxes. You can't actually skip that cutscene in the Japanese version, even if you do take an accidental death. And that's actually where, in the case of any percent, that's where a lot of time is saved over the Japanese version. And it's where the Japanese version isn't as fast as it could be, I suppose. That it does lose time there, but the time saved for not going through Road to Nowhere pretty much just makes up for it.
Yeah. So one more thing about the movement that I hadn't talked about until now. So the spins in this game behave pretty weirdly. We've already seen some examples of that. Like I mentioned early on briefly, spinning speeds you up, spinning makes you invulnerable to certain things, spinning allows you to do sub-jumps like I've done a few times now, get a sort of mid-air jump after your spin. And the last very important thing to pay attention to when running this game is that spinning has a limit to it, to how many times you can do it. There's sort of a meter, people often call it a spin timer, but it's probably best to think of it as a meter. So a meter that can run from empty 0 spins up to a max of 5 spins, and so each time you spin, 1 spin is subtracted from that meter, and then whenever the spin timer meter thing is not full, it's constantly regenerating at like a fraction of a spin per frame or whatever. And it regenerates at a rate of 1 spin per 2 seconds. And so if you just spin whenever you want to because you're like, oh hey, spinning speeds you up, you're going to spin a lot more than 1 time per 2 seconds, so you'll run out of spins pretty quickly. And once you do that, the next time you try to spin, you'll just hear like this weird sound effect and you won't actually get a spin to come out, and then you'll cry because you'll probably die as a result.
Yeah, it just sounds like this weird groaning noise that I guess Crash is making. Or it just goes like,
Yeah, so here I'm carefully like leaving a bunch of the lily pads up so that I can go back and forth across this pond quickly without waiting for them to come back up. Lily pads take a pretty long time to respawn.
Also, weirdly enough, in this version of the game, all of the like lily pads, leaves, and everything you can stand on is larger than it is in the American version of the game. Not really sure why they did that.
Because they figured it was too hard.
Yeah.
Same reason they took out half of the high road, probably.
Yeah, it's pretty jarring whenever you like look between the versions and see just that.
Yeah, like when you play on this version, you have tons of room to move. Like, because when you're zigzagging in this game, it's pretty easy for your zigzag to go off center, like, because you're alternating diagonals super quickly. This boss is really easy. He moves in the same pattern every single time. You just have to blow him up with TNTs. And since the game gives you 2 masks for free, you can just spin a couple TNTs to hurt him. Very easy boss, you'll see in a moment. I forgot what I was talking about already. Oh yeah, zigzag. It's very hard to keep center, and on the US version, or PAL version, I guess, of this game, since all the platforms and everything in upstream and up the creek are skinnier, it's a lot easier to just, like, zigzag off to the side a little bit and accidentally fall into the water. Whereas it's not really a thing to worry about in this version, thankfully. That is an issue I have in a level called Toxic Waste later on, but...
We should also mention that even though we need to break all the boxes to get gems, in Crash 1, the bonus rounds actually do not count for completion.
Right.
So aside from the 2 Cortex bonus rounds that provide a key that are needed to unlock levels, all bonus rounds get skipped.
Yep.
The ton of bonus rounds in the original Crash 1 only serve the purpose of saving your game, which we don't need to do during a speedrun, and given the way the game is programmed, it wouldn't even be useful as a safety measure. And then the real bonuses actually really don't do anything, they're just kind of there. This was changed in the remake where they actually are required for completion, but in this game, it's a question that's regularly asked whenever people first see this game is, why do you skip the bonus rounds? And it's just because they actually don't provide any form of completion.
So there's a trick I'm about to try to do here. These platforms that rise in and out of the thing. Okay, yeah, figures. It's possible, it's very precise, and I've gotten worse at it recently, but it's possible to jump off them while they're in the wall like that. Whoops, okay.
It was so good, we just had to do it again.
Yeah, just have to do it again. But yeah, like that. It's a cool trick. They're called, like, pulled board jumps is the name that some Tasser, probably Purohiko, assigned to them.
Also, shout outs to the cycle desyncing and saving you there.
Right. So yeah, I have no idea what the cycles are going to be like now. Kind of have to just... Okay, this is pretty slow. Yeah. But yeah, so at the beginning of this level, I death abused. I didn't even mention that, but I death abused on purpose to reset the cycles so that I would have consistent cycles in this level, so I would know where everything is. And preferably carry that into Temple Ruins as well, the next level after this, but that didn't happen. There'll be a bunch of places in the run later on where we death abuse at the start of a level to reset cycles to something consistent. Usually to make it so we can do some fast strats, sometimes to make it just so we don't have problems with desynced cycles, which can happen in a couple levels in this game.
So there's the red gem.
Yeah, there's the red gem, so we need that to access the sort of secret area 2 levels from now. So now we're here in Temple Ruins. It's a level.
Yeah.
You can spin through those spikes as well. That's another one of those things that spin makes you invincible to.
I actually added bonus tokens to this level and several others in the Japanese version.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really interesting. I guess they wanted to have more places where you could potentially save the game.
Oh, okay. Yes, that is supposed to look really cool. So yeah, normally if I had a mask right now, I'd be damage abusing across this flame, but I kind of don't, so... These flames, you can go to the side of them safely. Well, safely if you're good at lining it up, that is. Like, you can just walk along the side of those platforms without the flame touching you.
I find some of them aren't too difficult to line up. Oh yeah, this is
secret here.
Yeah. Crash 1's got some pretty weird secrets like this, where you'll see this, like, 1 or 2 Wumpa fruit just precariously floating over an open hole. And you'd be, I guess they thought it was like, oh, well, why is that there? And then you just decide to, like, jump and grab the fruit, and then the crates start to appear.
So here's a flame skip. Ta-da, flame skip. Woo. That was totally unnecessary. I don't need this mask for anything, but I guess, you know, safety. And it's cool just to show that flame skip is a thing. It's actually necessary to do that in any percent. You don't have masks when you get to those flames in any percent, but... Yeah, here it's just for safety if you want. This like section of the game here has way more masks in it than you really need. This section meaning from the Lost City up through Slippery Climb at the end of this island. But I do like to have extra masks because of this level. There's
It's very important to go back and manually detonate that TNT, because if you, in this game and the other two Crash games, if you go off screen far enough, the way the game handles having everything is it'll deload things. So TNTs are programmed to only delete certain crates or themselves if they're off screen. So if he had just left that behind, there's a very good chance that the TNT just would not have detonated.
Yeah, you generally have to be careful to actually see everything detonate, unless you know exactly how far away you can get safely. Cool little strat there. You're supposed to have to do like a bit of mini puzzle solving there, I guess. A bit of back and forth there to trigger everything, but...
Yeah. TNTs have expanding hitboxes on their explosions, so you can, with well-timed spins or spin bounces, you can easily get out of the range of them. And that was one of the two secret sections in Road to Nowhere that in the US version of the game we would have to come back for on a revisit.
Yeah, so here's, like I was mentioning at the start of the run, if you die past a checkpoint, you do have to re-enter the level and start over. So it makes this category pretty punishing. Like if I had just... So when you respawn at a checkpoint, first of all the... Yeah, that's a cool strat there. All the boxes respawn, all the ones that you've already broken. But even if you were to actually turn around and backtrack and re-break all the boxes and then continue on to the end, the game would still be like, haha, no, you died, you don't get the gem.
And even if you did that, it would still be faster to just start the level over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, backtracking would be kind of no fun here.
Yeah, no.
This level is a nice... Whoops. This level is a nice... It very much demonstrates how powerful Zigzag is. It's just like the... just like the boulder levels do. Like, these levels are actually involve some kind of tricky jumps, I guess. Okay. If you're doing it casually with no zigzag, but Zigzag just kind of breaks these levels completely. It trivializes them.
Yeah, these levels are pretty notoriously difficult from a...
The red gem was trying very hard to get in my way of that checkpoint.
Yeah, these levels are very notoriously difficult from a casual perspective, especially in the remake. These levels are a source of a lot of frustration to many players, and a lot of reasons why several people don't even get through Crash 1. That this game is actually pretty difficult. And the difficulty of the series in general was toned down a lot after this game.
Yeah, so that red gem is just kind of there to signal to you that there's something extra back here. It's not really necessary.
Yeah, if you stand on it, it will carry you over the ending platform, but it moves really, really slow, and you can just jump over it like that.
Yeah. What's next? Boulder Dash. We get to, once again, watch a boulder roll after me very, very slowly relative to Zigzag.
Yeah.
Unlike the first boulder level, we cannot get the box gem on this one on the first pass, though. We need the purple gem from way later in the game, so we'll be ignoring everything.
Yeah. This will actually be the last level in the run also, I believe.
This is not the last run in the level, in fact.
Did I say last run in the level?
I don't know what you said, but whatever it was, it didn't make sense.
I thought
What were you trying to say?
I thought I said it was going. The revisit is going to be the last level in the run.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I would make the excuse that I'm really tired because it's the morning, but it's like 2 p.m. on my internal clock, so it's not fair. I'm the only person here who's not from the West Coast.
It's okay. You're also not the one that really needs to be awake right now.
That's fair.
You have every right to be as sleepy as you want to be.
I don't want to be sleepy. I love watching this game.
Nice. Saboom, I totally forgot you were sitting back there, honestly. But yes, like I already ran into an obstacle back there, and it's like the boulder is still barely even on screen. It's kind of funny how much zigzag just kills it, kills the challenge.
Especially
from
on
the
Jay.
boulders. Yeah.
Like on you, it would still maybe have been a little close, but
Yes, that box screen there on the other versions of the game and on NST, you'll see like however many boxes you missed, you'll see that number of boxes come down crashing on your head. So it said like I missed 27 boxes. You would have actually watched 27 individual boxes crash down. On the Japanese version, though, it does not do that, thankfully.
you should also mention how very strange it is that you are suddenly in Slippery Climb.
Yeah, that's also a thing. They swapped the order of this level and Sunset Vista in the Japanese version only, for some reason.
Doesn't make sense for a
They took the
variety
two
of
hardest
things.
levels in the game and swapped their positions.
Yeah, it's like it makes
Doesn't
sense.
seem to have accomplished much.
It makes sense to swap Sunset Vista to Island 3 because that is legitimately one of the hardest levels in the game. But replacing it with another one of the hardest levels in the game just seems counterproductive. Also, thematically, it doesn't make sense, but that's beside the point. You're suddenly on
Does this
Cortex
game
is
actually
canceled.
have a story anyway? Really?
Somewhat, it's about as good as a
Okay.
3D platformer story gets.
Got cut underneath there.
But the idea
I have
when
no idea what I'm doing right now.
is the cycle normally like this?
Well, the cycle. Okay, I'm just going to calm down for a moment.
Yeah.
But so I mean, normally I wouldn't have died in Road to Nowhere. So normally I would have a completely predictable cycle here.
Okay.
The cycles definitely line up differently when you're not on the like one of two possible cycles I can reasonably get on in a good run.
Yeah, as I was saying, thematically, in this level you're scaling up Cortex's castle, which is why it makes no sense for it to have switched with Sunset Vista.
I can make that.
Nice.
It's very helpful to know there like the exact moment at which the stairs are going to go up or down. Like it's linked to those rotating platforms, so you can predict when the stairs are going to go down. So I could look at the platforms, be like, all right, it's not yet reaching that point. I have time to go for the jump.
Something else we haven't mentioned with the Japanese version is the Aku Aku hints. Is that whenever you break a mask, there's a certain number of hints that can happen in the level where he just gives you advice on how to play the game that we can't read because it's in Japanese. But it's just this small text box that you can close up by hitting either X or circle, and it's just something to keep in mind as
I mean,
well.
I could read it to you, but I think that'd be a waste of everyone's time.
Oh,
But yeah, you can skip it with either X or circle, but the weird thing about that is that whichever button you use to skip it, that input actually goes through as an input to control crash as well. So if you skip a mask hint with X while you're standing on the ground, you'll actually jump out of the mask hint. Or if you skip it with circle, you'll spin out of the mask hint. And so you have to be prepared for that input to come out when you're deciding how you want to skip the mask hint. So sometimes I'll skip them with X, sometimes with circle, depending on what I'm doing. If you're already in the middle of the air, then you can safely skip it with the jump button and you won't get an extra jump out of it. But yeah, just little things to keep in mind there. Once you know what you're doing with them, the mask hints stop becoming a problem. They're pretty annoying when you're getting used to the game though. Especially if you've already ran the game on the US version before where you don't have to worry about that. Oh yeah, also not even every single mask actually has a hint though. Like each level has a certain number of hints attached to it. And so if the level has more masks than hints, or if you die and pick up the same mask repeatedly or something, then it'll end up not giving you hints after a while. That also could surprise you and make you do something a little weird if you're not expecting it. This boss is RNG. Yeah, there's no cool strats like there are in NST to skip over to him. The distance that he was walking to and from, like left and right before he threw the boulder at me, that's just RNG how far he walks.
It's pretty annoying because you can lose several seconds to that fight.
Yup. My gold is 3 seconds better than my second best Qualicong that I've gotten since switching to console. It varies quite a bit.
That boss was also one of the first examples of the Japanese version actually switches some of the music in the game. So that was a different song than what you might be used to hearing when you fight Qualicong. I mean, that'll happen in the other two bosses as well. Which is a little interesting piece of trivia for this version.
Yeah, that's something you'll have to point out. I don't pay any attention to the music.
That's fair.
I need that. You can 3D range around stuff in this level. Some of it's just slower, like some of it you can just go over and zigzag more and stuff, but taking that a little safely. Died there in my PB. Do a dropped jump. Okay, I was not thinking at all. You can go around those, and I should have gone around that. I actually wanted to keep all the masks. This is another level where we briefly want invincibility. Doesn't make much of a difference in here, but okay, I'm just gonna ride this down.
There is an extra mask. Is that worth going for if you took the damage by accident or no?
The mask up here?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have 2 masks now.
Oh.
Like, the thing we want invincibility for is breaking that huge stack of boxes there, so
Okay.
if you don't already have invincibility, there's no point in grabbing that mask.
Okay.
Unless maybe you have no masks at this point and you want to do this strat. Sub-jump off that and then damage abuse across the pipes. 3D range to cry. Yeah, okay. Good thing I had an extra mask.
Yeah.
So these things, you can spin next to them as you're going up, and whoops, and it just triggers the jump immediately without you having to like fall back down and actually land on the platform. So you can scale that really quickly when you actually do it right. That was good enough.
If I'm not mistaken, the mechanics of invincibility in this game are that it boosts Crash's ground movement, but doesn't boost his zigzagging. Am I right on that? Or?
His air movement in general, yeah.
Yeah.
The moment you jump when you have invincibility, you slow back down to slow.
And then the zigzagging is still
I have
faster.
masks and I should be careful.
Yeah. And zigzagging is still overall faster, I believe, so it's only useful to grab masks if it would help you break a lot of crates quickly.
Yeah, I think the main problem with invincibility, the main thing that kills it, is the fact that there's that like extra animation when you first get it, where Crash like jumps up into the air and you can't move for a couple seconds.
That's its biggest quirk in NST also. In games that aren't Crash 1 where it actually is faster. But in Crash 2 and 3, the movement is nice, but it's still slower than just a basic slide spin, and the animation just makes it so it's not worth going for unless you're trying to break a lot of crazy ones.
Yeah, so this level is a level where I die a lot. No, this level is a level that you're not supposed to be able to get the box gem on the first pass. You're supposed to have the blue gem in this, which you get 2 levels from now. But we have a skip for it again. This will be the last revisit skip that you will see. This one is a very peculiar one.
It also used to be random, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yep.
recently it was found to have a consistent setup.
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to the skip. We'll just start talking about it now, because it kind of happens quickly once you get there, unless I fail it repeatedly, like usual. There's both an entrance and an exit to it. So the secret area that you're trying to get to here is like just another side path. Like you'll notice this level's kind of branching left and right a bit. There's one path off to the left that you're supposed to need the blue gem to access, and I'm taking this slowly. And so you have to get in one way, and then you have to get out in a different way. It's 2 different strats here. So the way you get in is that it's actually a similar idea to the upstream skip that I tried earlier and failed. You're gonna line up at a particular diagonal on the wall, and you're gonna spin jump up the wall because of weird collision. That just works for some reason. I'm gonna damage abuse on that to make sure I get the jump. And I'm now taking this safely, I guess. That counts as safe now, I guess. I don't know how to play safely. But yeah, so anyway, then here we have the exit. This I need to line up in a very precise position over here. I'm using Crash's ear as a lineup. Shoutouts to the 8-Bit Beast and Australian Tasser, who figured out a consistent setup for that. The setup that used to be used for that exit was a 50-50 chance of whether or not it worked. I think it was 50-50. It was something like that, something close to that at least. You would just set up in the way you used to set up and go for it, and sometimes the little like clip in the wall that you sub-jumped off like that would just not be there, and you just fall into the goop without having a chance.
It was a pretty widely hated skip, I believe. It's just a lot of good runs would just die there, just for
there's
some
nothing
things
you could do about it.
things you couldn't control.
Yeah, so this is another level I damage abused at the start there to set up cycles the way I want them. It will allow me to do a cool corner cut in a bit if I don't mess things up. That's not the cool corner cut I was talking about. That is a corner cut, but not a cool one.
What have we got?
The cool corner cut is right here.
Nice.
You have to land on that platform, whoops, as it's going like across the gap there, so you really need that platform to be where you want it to be, or you need to know exactly where it's going to be, otherwise you're not going to be able to do that. That's the primary reason why we want to damage or death abuse to set up the cycle. If you don't know where that thing's going to be, it's hopeless. There's cool strats to skip this gap. I get them like 50-50, so I'm not doing them right now. Way too punishing in this category. And that's Gen Room.
Very nice.
The next level after this is not really supposed to be difficult, but it's like my nemesis and probably that of most of the top Crash 1 runners. It's a level called Toxic Waste. It is in a straight line, and that straight line is extremely narrow, which means it is very, very easy to zigzag off the edge if you're actually trying to go fast. I very, very often just kind of like slow down my zigzag dramatically for part of this level, for the sake of not going diagonally off the edge. Like, if you go fast, it's possible to kill that guy before he throws that barrel, but I don't like going fast in this level. Also, did you know that in the original trilogy, every level that has the blue gem has the initials TW?
I did actually know that. It's a really interesting piece of trivia. I'm not sure if it was accidental or intentional.
Who knows? Send a letter to Andy Gavin and ask him.
I don't know if I would trust his answer. Yeah, I think it's Toxic Waste, Turtlewoods, and Tomb Waiter. So.
That stack of TNTs back there on the other versions, or at least the US version anyway, there's a metal crate on top of that stack, and so the metal crate falling down will trigger the top TNT, but in this version that's not there, so I had to manually trigger the top TNT or else it wouldn't blow up. It would have deloaded by the time the explosion went off.
I actually never noticed that.
Yeah, it's a really weird difference. Some of those little changes like that I don't know why they would make. Here's another cool boss. Changed the music, I think, right?
Yeah, and it's incredibly not fitting.
So we're gonna wait for him to move a little bit more. If we wait to hit him until now, this will actually reduce the total amount of movement he does later in the fight. For some reason you can just hit him 3 times right there, but only 3, not more than 3. After the first 3 hits, the place where he becomes vulnerable is now not in the middle anymore, so it doesn't let you hit him more than 3 times in the middle.
On the last 3 phases, he becomes vulnerable when his gun jams, so that's when you're supposed to hit him. Also, the idea of the fight is that you hide behind his furniture as he shoots at you, but as long as Crash is doing this like covering his face animation, he actually can't be hurt. So Burger was actually to the left of the chair on the left side of the screen, but because he had the covering animation, Pinstripe was shooting him point blank and nothing was happening.
Yeah, and the fact that I damage abused in that, not really necessary, but it just makes it easier to make sure that I'm on top of Pinstripe immediately, like the first frame that I can hit him, the frame that he becomes vulnerable. Because there's no reason not to, basically. Like, you don't take masks out of boss fights in this game. no matter what, so you might as well use the masks in the fight if they have a use at all. Here's the best example of Zigzag trivializing a bunch of stuff. You're supposed to have to flip those turtles over and then use their bouncy undersides to clear these long gaps, but you can just zigzag instead. Always zigzag more, folks. Purposely slowing down there because that's an unusual but known consistent lag spot for some reason, just in the middle of the bridge where there's not even much around. But it's a consistent lag spot. It will drop your jump like half the time if you try to go at full speed.
Yeah, this is also the level that the Japanese version. Oh.
Where did I miss a box?
I was wondering, I think it was the first checkpoint or something. It looked like you missed it, but I thought maybe you'd hit it.
Is that the one where there's like a set of like 4 crates there total or something?
Yeah.
This is not the level I want.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to what I'm doing in some of these levels that are just considered to be easy, so
I was wondering
sometimes.
I was wondering if it like broke off screen.
I saw 4 of those break, at least.
Yeah.
At least it's a very short level in this version.
Yeah. Having that happen in any other version of the game would be very unfortunate. Yeah, this is the level that got shortened in the Japanese version. In every other version, there's a huge line of turtles over very large gaps or holes that you're supposed to just jump
this
over
checkpoint, I
constantly.
assume. Okay,
Yeah,
saw
I think
it,
it went
saw
in
it
there.
break this time.
Yeah, I think it was that one.
Slow, okay. No drop jumps. So yeah, anyway, that's the high road. You got to see it twice, in case you really like this level.
There's a lot of people who do not like this level.
Yeah.
To make up for it being shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Because I think they did cut it down like almost half the size, I feel like. I don't know.
I think it was about half.
Next level after this is a very, very long one now.
It's Sunset Vista, the one that got moved to Island 3.
Yeah, so if you're on any other version of the game, this level will be at the end of Island 2.
This is
Another one where we
Slippery
very
will be.
much want to death abuse at the start to set up cycles. This level, actually, as well as Slippery Climb that we did a while back, but this level can have some weird cycle desyncs happen if you don't do that death abuse, if you just play normally for a long time without dying and let the cycles run for a while. Things will desync and a certain section of the level will become extremely difficult, if not actually impossible to get past. There is no reason not to wait there. The cycles line up in such a way that it wouldn't have saved time to hurry here.
Yeah,
That's kind of a nice thing about this level, like the current strats. The cycle that we go for is, you know, reasonably fast. It's definitely faster than whatever you would get if you just went with random cycles 99% of the time. But it has quite a bit of leeway as well. Like, I bounced off the lizard to land up there to get over here quickly, but even if you fail that, it's still possible to make this cycle as well. Like, there's leeway all over the place. It's a relatively relaxing, I guess, level, which is weird to say for a level that's super long and considered to be one of the hardest levels in the game,
yeah.
casually.
For a level as infamous as Sunset Vista, from a casual perspective, it is really weird to hear it be called relaxing, but from a speed perspective, because of how well just manipulating the cycles lines everything up.
Yeah, it's just
not one of the
it's
more
basically a
terrifying ones.
scripted level for us at this point. You just do it. It's rare to fail anything in this level in such a way that would actually make you lose cycles.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with the Japanese version, or if you don't set up the cycles at the beginning, it can be a bit of a scary level towards the end.
For sure.
I feel like a lot of first-time J runners, myself included, when I picked this game up, were really surprised by like how weird it could get if you didn't set it up like that.
Oh yeah, so this is the first of 2 levels where there's a Cortex bonus. Forgot about that. So right over here is the first Cortex token. You have to collect 3 Cortex tokens and it'll give you access to a weird little bonus round. You just get to the end of the bonus round and Cortex gives you a key. That key will unlock a secret level. And since you need the gem from every level to get 100%, we need the key.
The key for this level will unlock Whole Hog on Island 2. The reason for that is that Sunset Vista used to be on Island 2. So in the US version, Sunset Vista is like right next to the entrance to Whole Hog. So
Yeah, so there's a couple cool things about these bonuses, I guess. Just little things that kind of want to, you know, make sure I don't die in the bonus, which would be a really stupid thing to do though, so 1 second. 3D range around that. You can grab the key before Cortex throws it up, and then you can Death Abuse off the back end of the platform, which saves time because it prevents the save screen from loading. Because it usually pulls up the save screen when you get a key, but that wastes a couple seconds even if you skip it.
And as long as you pick up the key, you keep it, even if you die in the bonus round.
Yep.
There's also, I think something you mentioned to me before the run is that the timing in which Cortex throws the key depends on when you land on the ending platform. So if you land closer to him, you can grab it as he's throwing it into the air.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have to sit there and wait at all at the end of the bonus there. I just kind of, I made sure I did a longer jump as I was going over. So I basically landed like on top of Cortex, and he just handed the key to me as he tried to throw it up into the air. It works in both Cortex bonuses, so you never have to sit and wait at the end anymore.
Yeah. The Cortex bonuses overall aren't too bad, but they're a little scary because in this game, if you fail a bonus round, you actually cannot attempt to retry it without exiting the level.
Yeah.
So
in the case, actually I think in both cases, since the Cortex bonus comes so close to the end of the level, by the way, I can't get the box gem here. The Cortex bonuses come so close to the end of the level that if you do actually fail it and you'll have to redo the level, it's generally better to just finish off the level and get the box gem first and then come back in specifically for the Cortex tokens. That way you don't have to break all the boxes again. It lets you skip good chunks of both Cortex bonus levels.
especially so in Sunset Vista, because it's actually an out of bounds that's used in any percent that can be
Yes.
used to get back to the bonus run really quickly.
Very cool out of bounds. It's very cool out of bounds because it lets you space off and not really play the game for like 30 seconds straight as you just walk to the right.
So this is one of the two dark levels. It functions pretty differently from later dark levels in other Crash games, where Aku Aku is actually your light source. So every time you break the crate that has Aku Aku in it, your light replenishes and then it runs out after a certain amount of time. This level does require the yellow gem, which will be retrieved in the lab, which is the last. Well, it's not actually. It's the last level in like the island order, but it's not the last like unique level that will be visited.
Yeah. And in case you couldn't tell, you can spin through those pendulums and they won't hurt you.
There's this weird glitch that can happen where sometimes the pendulums, instead of going left to right, they go forward and backwards. It's really hilarious and really terrifying.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in actual like high-level runs of this game because I guess it only happens if you enter the level with 2 masks or something, or that's how it's supposed to be.
It's
That's
something
what I've heard.
like that. It's more
whatever-
likely, at least, I think.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, having 2 masks causes weird things to happen in other places in these games, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Just you're not likely to ever have 2 masks entering Lights Out.
Exactly. Like, it's not a thing that'll happen in optimal strats of this category. Or either category, really.
So this is
This
the
level's very scary.
yeah.
Here's
Jaws
the
of Darkness is a very
jump of darkness.
Jaws of Andy. This level is the second level with the
Flame
Cortex
skip.
bonus, the backwards flame skip.
Yeah, you need that.
So this will get us the second key. This one will unlock Fumbling in the Dark.
That looks scarier than it is. You just hold diagonal and you make it.
This level has a really long blue jump path. It just kind of wraps around entirely
Yeah.
clockwise and then just takes you back to basically where you started.
I actually want invincibility here again because there's just a crap ton of boxes to break here and it's really slow to do it without invincibility. Okay, I'm surprised that worked without anything going badly.
The last one was thinking about it.
Still a good enough invincibility.
Let's
The
run
rest of the
this.
level went well. I think I should make this. I did. That's the best cycle you can make in here, so that's cool.
It's very important to not spin this Cobra,
Yeah.
unless you do it that way.
Yeah, it's very important not to spin that snake straight forward because there was a Cortex token.
A lot of casual players will probably reach the end of levels of Wars. The third Cortex token was in that TNT stack that you
This
blew up.
Cortex bonus has cool looking strats, requires no zigzag at all, but you can just skip the sort of like little puzzle solving that you're supposed to have to do in there. See, so I failed the death abuse there, and now it just loaded a save screen, and that took like, you know, a couple extra seconds or something. I'm gonna go really safe here because this is a long level and I don't want to replay it.
Yeah.
There's a cycle skip you can do at the end here, but you know, level sucks.
Better safe than doing Jaws of Darkness again.
Yeah, exactly.
I have very fond memories of that Cortex 1 this round.
Especially when I just like actually got the main level God Cycle in here. I don't want
Yeah.
to have to play the level again after that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's enough.
No more Jaws.
So after this, the next level is Castle Machinery, which has a weird quirk in it. There's a special type of cycle in here that only appears in this level. I don't even know what term they use to describe it, but there's a platform that rises up and down very, very high near the end of the level. Like you can see, Crash is falling super far down. This is a very vertically oriented level. There's a platform at the end that rises super high up. It takes an extremely long time to go up and down. It's over 10 seconds. And that platform starts moving from a certain position, like on a certain cycle, when you enter the level. It has nothing to do with global cycles. It has nothing to do with proximity. It's the only cycle of its kind.
I think Ted just said that it's called local cycle.
Okay, sure. Nice little 3D abuse there, 3D range abuse. But yeah, so the cool thing about that is that it means that I'm sort of like locked into a particular cycle. Like as long as I play the level within a certain range of 10 or I think it's actually 13 seconds. As long as I play the level within that certain range, then I'll get the same cycle every time. I'll get the same time on this level every time. And so I don't really need to stress about like putting in lots of fast strats here unless I'm actually trying to save an entire 13 seconds over the level, which is rather hard to do.
Yeah.
So you can do a decent amount of leisurely stuff. Like for example, taking this invincibility here is not faster, but it makes stuff easier, in my opinion.
Once you get through all those pipes that are shooting out the hot air.
Like it just makes it easier to keep going forward at a reasonable speed without losing masks. Because I do want to keep at least one mask for the end of this level. There's a damage abuse I want to do. This box bridge as well, there's multiple fast strats for it, but I can just pretty leisurely bounce on most of the boxes there and know that I'll still make the cycle at the end. In fact, this level went well enough that I'm probably still several seconds ahead of the cycle, we'll see. There it is. So yeah, this platform here. I was sitting there waiting for like, I don't know, a few seconds. I could have gotten there a few seconds slower and still made that, which means I would have needed to do the whole level almost 10 seconds faster than I just did, maybe like 8 or so, in order to save another cycle over that. It's very hard. You need to put in lots of stupid stuff to do it. Nobody does it in runs currently. I don't intend to do it in runs, even if I were grinding for 102. So, yeah, I don't recommend. We have a boss fight after this, I think. Nitrous Brio.
He has very wonderful sounds in the Japanese version.
He does. He really does.
That's one of them.
That is one of them. Yeah, so this, he throws out these like little green blobs at first, and you have to destroy them. They're a little bit weird. You can't kill them if you just spin them while they're on the ground like that. They bounce away from you. And when you fail something like that, then Nitrous Brio sits there pouring stuff in his beakers forever and to use a bunch of time. That is a very good boss fight. I'm glad I'm messing that up here and not in a good run. But yeah, so you do that, 3 phases of those little green blobs, and then he drinks his potion.
My favorite sound effect.
And he makes that beautiful sound. And that one. And you jump on him a few times and done.
If anybody ever
boss
asks
fight.
you why the Japanese version is the best version of Crash 1, that's it.
Yeah, the fight itself plays the same in every version, it's just the sounds. That platform at the start is on a global cycle, so you might not be able to land on it safely, but, you know, you can just jump over it. These electricity things, whoa, no, these electricity things you can spin through.
Just abusing the iframes on the spin.
Oh yeah, this level's a lot scarier on the other versions, because there's no mask in this level in the other versions. They had pity on us and put a mask at the start of the Japanese. Makes this level a lot more comfortable to play.
You know, there's a couple levels where they do that, and this one in particular, it's very nice to just have that mask.
Yeah, whatever other ones they do it to, I'm not even aware of. That's how little.
One of them's the high road, so.
Yeah, like that strat I just did there, I would not be doing if I didn't have the mask. Honestly, I probably shouldn't do that without the mask either, but
it looks cool.
It never fails, so.
Yeah. So this will begin the backtrack.
Yes. Yeah, good. Thank you for the reminder not to enter the Great Hall.
Yeah.
I was totally about to enter the Great Hall.
That's later in the run.
I was thinking of just going to fight Cortex now and having this be like an hour-long any % run.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Thank you, Saboom.
Something of note for 100% in this game is that you don't actually fight the final boss. He doesn't actually give you any %. So we actually will not see the fight with Cortex at all.
Yeah, this game has two mutually exclusive endings. Either you go and fight Cortex, or you get all the gems and then go run away with your girlfriend and refuse to save the world. It's very excellent. I'm just going to stand over here. Slow cycles entering this level. That's mainly because of messing up Brio badly. That's fine. You can actually play a lot of this level pretty leisurely because of these moving platforms. Like, you have to do some really stupid strats to make that cycle that it looked like I just barely missed there. I can wait on this as well without losing time.
I think from a casual perspective, this level trips up a lot of people just because they get really antsy and they jump way sooner than they need to. And that usually ends up having a lot of accidental deaths.
You can do that. You can sub-jump off platforms that the pendulums are swinging through. Looks cool, not hard to do if you're good at sub-jumps at all. Yeah, I don't think I ever mentioned it actually. The leeway for sub-jumps is an entire 10-frame window after the spin ends, so that's why it's considered an easy trick by top runners.
It's generally something that's recommended to learn pretty early on if you're getting into the game. I say that as somebody who has not learned it. I probably should have by now.
Yeah, so that's a level that is... It's really scary if you don't know the layout, it's really scary if you're not good at controlling Crash's momentum, and it's really scary if you actually try to go fast. I will make it very clear, what I did just now is not fast. Isn't that fun? Nobody actually does the fast thing and runs right now. I think Tet was going to start doing fast things, but he is currently taking a break from the game.
Well-deserved one.
Yeah, very much.
So this is the first revisit.
So now we revisit this level. We already played it. Funnily enough, this revisit is actually easier than the first pass of the level because, like, partway through the level, the yellow gem appears and just takes us straight to the, like, sort of secret ending of the level where there's a few extra boxes. And so you don't even have to play a good chunk of the level.
Cuts out a good third to half of the level, and the end of this level is the scariest part of it.
There's lots of pendulums and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's fine if you're, like, comfortable with spinning through the pendulums, if you're comfortable with that timing. Otherwise, it's rough. Do need to actually pay attention a bit and go fast here to make sure I make this cycle coming up. And I made it. Cool.
Nice.
Yay. It's not really a thing I fail, but occasionally I'll be like halfway through that section and realize, oh yeah, I forgot that I'm supposed to be actually kind of trying to go fast right now, and then I'll have to worry about it. But it is a missable cycle if you're truly going slowly. But yeah, so there's that. You just avoided playing the rest of the level now. And so now we will be going all the way back to Island 1 and playing like half of Island 1 since we didn't get the gems from a few of those levels. If I had gotten upstream, I would only need to do 2 more levels on Island 1. Since I did not get the upstream skip, I need to do upstream revisit right now as well.
I was very confused when you said we were going all the way back to Island 1, because the way the backtrack works in Insane Trilogy is completely different.
That's totally not even true, because I normally do whole hog at this point. It's hard running a video game without splits in front of your face when you always have splits in front of your face.
Yeah. Even in something like Crash 1, where a lot of the level progression is really linear, this backtrack is not as entirely straightforward as you would expect it to be.
Yeah. And there was honestly no reason for me to go back to this at that point once I'd already gone past it on the map. Like, having to waste time for extra map movement, there was no point. I could have just done it later. That jump in particular over that hog is weirdly precise.
This level is kind of held together
There was
by
also
like glue.
Yeah, there was also a box a while back that I didn't even mention. I'm used to not having to think about it anymore. There's a box that you can just have the hog just walk over without actually breaking if you don't do it right. Like, you have to try to break the box from the side and not be touching the D-pad when you break it.
I think this is actually the last level they added to the game. It doesn't exist in the beta version of Crash 1. So it kind of tell that it doesn't entirely function properly.
They just wanted to make it more challenging.
That's a way of doing
That's
it.
one way to do it, right?
They had to compensate for the fact that they got rid of Stormy Ascent.
Okay, so as I was saying 2 minutes ago, we are now going to Island 1 to do revisits. Starting with upstream, since I failed the skip for that level. Not actually a huge fan of the revisit of this level, frankly. There's a few jumps at the end of the level that I don't like doing this late in the run, but I'll do them anyway since the run's doing fine on time.
Yeah.
Like what I died in Road to Nowhere and then I missed a box in the high road. I think those are the only like major things so far.
Funnily enough, there's the 2 bridge levels.
2 levels that are not really supposed to present a problem for good runners of the game, but you know, happens.
The mentality with the routing of the backtrack in this game is that every time you finish a level, it automatically propels you forward to the next level. So ideally, you want to go all the way back to Island 1 and have the game just automatically push you forward. But you have to do some of Island 3 beforehand. Like, you have to do Lights Out, because the purple gem you get in Lights Out will be needed for Boulder Dash, which is on Island 2.
Sucks.
You can see it.
Okay. If the fish wasn't there scaring me, then it would be just another jump. But I hate fish. Okay, cool, that's that.
Funnily enough, the fish in this game look really non-threatening. They kind of just like dance through the air.
I just glanced over at chat for the first time this run and I see Ted's comment, upstream is patched in marathons, except for White Paws. It's so true though.
That's true.
I was totally 100% for sure in a position that should have worked, but I was not actually in a position that should have worked, so it didn't work.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's patched. We have Rolling Stones 2 here. The beginning here will be done a bit slowly because actually skipping cycles here is absurdly difficult. I was trying it yesterday. It's impossible. I mean, it's doable, but it's impossible. So, just stand there and wait for a bit. Snipe that into the mask, because we want masks to damage abuse on stuff later. You need to actually spin jump that for the same reason as we've talked about before. TNTs won't blow up the surrounding boxes if you get too far away and deload stuff. So you need to actually blow them up physically when you're right there. So you damage abuse through that, snipe that plant into the mask crate. And then we're going to keep this mask for safety. We're going to keep this mask going into Native Fortress 2. I need all of those, thank you.
The way this little secret path works, it's interesting, is that there's actually a death plane down there, but as soon as you touch the blue gem, it disappears. So you can just touch it and then immediately drop down.
Yeah, if it didn't work like that, you could just totally drop down into the pit without the blue gem and get the boxes and then, I don't know, find some weird clip in the wall to get back up. Sort of like a Cortex power entrance type of thing.
And then we would have Rolling Stone skip.
That would be pretty funny. I'm perfectly glad that it doesn't exist, really.
Yeah.
We have enough revisit skips. I don't want to be worrying about more.
Alright, So there's 2 gems left. After this, it's Native Fortress and then Boulder Dash.
This level's pretty hard on the revisit. I took the mask out of Rolling Stones for safety. I will be also grabbing this mask as well. It's actually, well, it's partially for safety and partially because I actually want to take one mask into the second passive Boulder Dash for a fast strat, a damage abuse on a TNT. But yeah, so I wanted to have an extra mask so I can take damage somewhere in here and still be fast. I could have made that if I zigzagged fast, but I had no idea where I was on the cycle at that point. In this spot in particular, you need to be a little careful of how much you're spinning. Okay, bounce on that monkey instead of spinning him, otherwise it's pretty easy to get spin timered. And on that last little platform there, like you'll run out of spins, so. Once again, taking this little path back here, just like on the first pass, because it's fast, you don't have to worry about all the obstacles in your way.
That one doesn't even
More
have a
safe
box.
waiting.
It's just there.
Yeah.
I'm so scared seeing you do that. It was so terrifying to watch. It's like those jumps are a good example of zigzagging, helping you reach further.
Yeah, most of what I do in this level would never be possible without zigzag.
This is a very interesting.
Like that especially. I almost failed that, in fact. I never had it that be close. Okay.
This is a very interesting secret section.
In the clouds.
Very scary, but also very pretty. It's just the way the clouds look. It's actually fairly difficult to see
Can
them.
do a cycle skip here without taking damage.
Very nice.
So now I get 2 masks for Boulder Dash. I have an extra one for safety on the plants at the end of the level, I guess.
It's a good thing. The depth perception in the end of the secret part of Boulder Dash is a little annoying. Didn't miss the last box.
I did not miss the last box.
Shoutouts to Jack.
I am always very careful about that box.
I think it's Jack and Kane have both missed that.
That'd be so horrible. Like, it's
Yeah.
right at the end of the run, and it's also a super long
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Usually a 3-minute split unless it goes quickly.
Yeah.
Unless you do, like, unsafe stuff.
So this will be the last level before the end of the game.
Yep. Back to the Boulder Dash.
Most of this is pretty standard fare until the last phase, I would say.
Yeah, so at the end of the level, might as well just mention it now since there's nothing else to talk about. At the end of the level, there's a purple gem platform that carries you underneath the level to a little secret area down there where the rest of the boxes are. And if you... Normally you would have to get to the end of the level and then wait for the boulder to finish chasing you and fall down and get out of your way and then ride the purple gem down. But with good zigzagging movement, or even with like mediocre zigzagging movement, it's possible to get so far ahead of the last boulder that you can you can jump on the purple gem and take it down there first and get there ahead of the boulder.
pretty-
Using that TNT, it blows everything up.
It's pretty easy to do on the J version of the game. It's a little more challenging on you, but
Yeah.
it's another just really nice thing about J.
Yeah, 'cause like, so I'm in that section now. This is the last boulder here.
Yeah.
So if I crash into too much stuff, then yeah, I'll have to sit there at the end and wait on the boulder, but you really have to crash into a lot of stuff or zigzag super slowly to not make it on this version.
Yeah.
Whoa, where's me?
You look like you're
What,
not.
Crash, where are you going right now? But yeah, so like,
Yeah.
look at that.
The boulder does still have a hitbox though, so the depth perception in this section is awful. Just the camera is really weird.
Being very careful about setting those up.
Also, there's a bunch of like really random death planes that just exist in this section. Like if you jump too high, you could just die because the game thinks you fell into a hole.
Yeah, so like since there was the arrow crate and then a box floating up above it, like slightly above the screen, if you bounce off the arrow crate in a weird way and then land on the crate that's up above and like bounce high off that, you'll hit a death plane from below and the game will kill you.
Also, the percentages jump from 35 to 100.
Yeah.
Percentage in this game doesn't make any sense. The game didn't actually give any percentage for completing the levels because level completion is given to you through Tana bonuses. But once it realizes you have all 26 gems, it just hands you 100%.
Yeah, so now that you have all the gems, or at least all the clear ones anyway, I guess the colored ones aren't even relevant to this, but you have all the gems, they turn into platforms here, and you just go over here. You can corner cut a couple times. You could zigzag if you really wanted to. I don't really want to.
Yep. Time is coming up, by the way.
Yeah, time is coming up. As soon as I lose control, right, time.
Very good for a marathon.
That went better than the 15:45 race, that's for sure. So that is Crash 100%. It's, yeah, nice bird. You're not going to comment about the girlfriend riding the bird? It's a nice girlfriend riding the bird, you know.
Yeah, she doesn't show up in any other games.
She does.
Does she?
Crash Boom Bang doesn't count.
No. I'm like positive.
No.
Do you just mean like one of the mobile ones, or what?
Right? Like the ones waving the flags or something?
No, actually.
It's not Tana. She has another name.
The Crash Team racing game where you actually like if you bump into a racer, you combine it to one car.
She's not in that.
Yeah, thanks Nerfrip. I was indeed in a 15:45 race. You should have in fact seen me for a good 15 minutes. There was nobody else to focus on.
I've never even played that.
That's not tag team racing. That's Crash Boom Bang.